In this forecast, severe weather and flooding is returning to the Ohio Valley today. All modes of severe weather, including an isolated tornado threat, exist, and the tropics may become active again soon. We have the latest details for you in this forecast. All of that and more is coming right up. Hey everybody, welcome back to a max velocity weather forecast, and today what we're going over is that severe weather potential over the next several days across portions of the United States. I'm going to give you the latest timing, the details, everything that you need to know will be in this forecast. Let's hop right into it. So as of right now, there's currently a slight risk for severe weather that does include northern Kentucky, southwestern Ohio, and as well as southeastern Indiana. The main threats today will be damaging winds, isolated large hail, and as well as the potential for a couple of tornadoes. There's also another risk of severe weather that is also a slight risk that also includes areas in eastern and central portions of Nebraska. Marginal threat just outside of that. Main threats, again, damaging winds and large hail. Not much of a tornado threat out this direction. Let's hop into the timing for this afternoon. We'll start with Nebraska first. You can start to see by 4 to 5 o'clock this afternoon, we'll start to see some showers and storms developing. Again, the most potent ones will likely be out to the east of this other area of showers. Eventually, by about 7 to 8 o'clock, we'll start to see those storms march out to the east, becoming a bit more of a prominent line of storms. By 9 to 10 o'clock, those storms are moving towards Sioux City as well as Omaha. And eventually, by about midnight or so, storms moving off into Iowa. The storms in Iowa not expected to be severe, but if there are any severe storms in western Iowa, damaging winds not out of the question. Here's a look at the timing this afternoon for Ohio. You will start to see by 2 to 3 o'clock. That one line of storms actually be going through western Ohio this morning. That'll be weakening throughout the afternoon. Not expecting much in severe weather terms with that. But eventually going to the evening hours, we'll have another area of storms developing, most likely down here to the south. This will eventually turn into a line of storms, most likely in the evening hours. You can start to see by 10 to 11 o'clock. It looks to be much more of a cluster of storms. This might bring a flash flooding potential, and as well as that damaging wind, large hail, isolated tornado threat. Going to the evening hours and overnight hours, you can start to see going to Kentucky a pretty prominent line of storms. This will obviously bring that potential for not just flash flooding, but all modes of severe weather, primarily being damaging winds. By 2 to 3 in the morning, you can start to see that line moving down to the south, and eventually Tennessee could even be waking up to some storms going to the morning hours tomorrow. Areas like Knoxville or Johnson City, definitely don't rule out some showers and storms your direction. Those are not expected to be that severe, though. If there is any severe weather, just damaging winds, that's it. 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds, my only concern. Going to tomorrow, we might have another line of storms, too. That also could potentially pose a threat for severe weather. At this given time, that is not an area to watch for severe weather as of now, but that very well could change in our next outlook. We might get a marginal threat of severe weather being introduced here pretty soon. Here's a look at today's or tomorrow's severe weather outlook as well. You can see there's a slight risk for severe weather that does include northwestern Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota, main threats, damaging winds, and large hail. Not much of a tornado threat for tomorrow. Into Wednesday, there's also a marginal threat for severe weather. This will be from that area of storms that will develop late Tuesday for those up in Wisconsin as well as Minnesota. Marginal threat extends all the way down to Kansas City and into northeastern Kansas, goes all the way through Michigan. And let's take a look at the rainfall over the next 24 to 48 hours in those areas, again over in the Ohio Valley. As of right now, we're expecting the greatest amount of rain actually to likely be in Kentucky. Again, we could see as much as 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches of rain in some isolated spots. The HR model is actually picking up almost 5 inches of rain in extreme southern Ohio. That's from that little band of showers that may develop later this afternoon in the evening hours. Definitely make sure you're taking the proper precautions. Again, turn around, don't drown when you're on the roadways, and especially when water's in front of you. Let's take a look at the temperatures over the next 7 to 14 days. Overall, not a whole lot of cooler weather is expected for much of the United States. We'll have a bit of a heat wave ongoing for those over in Wisconsin, as well as anywhere in the Ohio Valley, and as well as the Midwest over the next several days, really this weekend primarily. Cooler weather will return, actually, some slightly cooler weather to those in portions of the Ohio Valley going to early to mid next week. Eventually, temperatures overall, though, again, are going to start to look like spike again, probably going into the following week. Definitely another thing to watch out for pretty closely. Also, a little quick update on the tropics as of right now. There is a lot of Saharan dust out there. It is actually a fairly favorable environment right now. Those in the Gulf of Mexico, there is actually a fairly favorable environment though out that direction. Otherwise, anywhere in the Atlantic Ocean, it is so unfavorable. All this yellow and red is representing Saharan dust. We are currently not looking at any favorable atmosphere back out this direction. It is a lot more favorable though in the Gulf of Mexico, so we could very well see some sort of tropical system develop at some point over the next 7 to 14 days, but overall, nothing's forecast in the short term. We will keep you updated with the latest on the tropics throughout the hurricane season. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, like the video if you haven't already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting and All Dents Repair.